Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Xiaomi Mijia 720p 360-degree IP Wi-Fi security camera. It sells for under 40 bucks, which is incredibly inexpensive for a pan and tilt camera that can cover, again, almost an entire room everywhere, and you can remote control it. So there's a spinning motor here that controls where the sensor is pointing at and looking. So if you guys remember, about a year ago, we reviewed the Xiaomi E Dome camera, which is actually branded by E. It's actually a subsidiary of Xiaomi, and this was a bit more expensive, but essentially it does the exact same things as the Mijia camera, but this one is at a fraction of the cost since it's branded by Xiaomi officially. The version we have here is also mostly in Chinese, both with the instructions and the software setup. However, it's simple enough to get used to, and the main tasks can be performed without too many problems. So the size of the Mijia is also a bit more petite than the Xiaoyi Dome that we checked out last year, and you can see some basic specifications printed on the back. This one is 720p, but there's also a 1080p version that's slightly more expensive. You can see it's fairly new as far as being released to the market, and it just uses Wi-Fi and the regular Xiaomi kind of home app to sync up and afterwards kind of connect to their suite of ever-growing smart home products. So inside the packaging here, we have access to the camera. There's also an instruction manual, and the camera itself is plugged into power using a standard micro USB port, which we'll take a closer look at in a second. So in the second little pouch, there's access firstly to the instruction manual. Again, it's documented in Chinese, and below here, there's access to the aforementioned micro USB cable for power. Offers actually a pretty good cable length, and also a standard USB-based wall socket that plugs into power. There's also some mounting brackets if you want to install it on a ceiling or on a wall more permanently. So let's take a closer look at the design of the Mijia tearing through the plastic here. We can see that it has a fairly cute overall form factor and look, and of course the motor itself will allow it to spin, again, almost 360 degrees, so it can look backwards, frontwards, left, and to the right. There is a logo on the very bottom here, and of course the camera part can also pan and tilt. The sensor is surrounded by a ring of infrared lights, which means that this also has night vision and enables the camera to see under darker environments. However, the picture transforms into black and white monochrome as opposed to color when you're using the night mode. On the back, there's the loudspeaker, so you can also use it to communicate with whoever is at home. And on the back, there's also the micro USB port for power. There's also a reset button, and on the very back, there's the docking port, and of course, rubber feet that prevents the camera from sliding around on a surface or a desk. So overall, again, it's a lot smaller than last year's model that we saw. At the same time, it has the same functionality, which is quite impressive. Let's take a closer look at the app as well as the performance next. All right, so setting up the camera for the first time, you download the Mi Home app, which is consolidated for almost all of Xiaomi's products, or their smart home products, and you need to sign up with an account for the first time and create an account if you don't have one by entering your email and creating a password. Afterwards, you add a device. So if I add manually, you can see a list, and most of these are still in Chinese since the majority of their products are released in mainland China. So we're going to select the corresponding robot, which is this one, just by looking at the photos. We're going to plug the device into power to follow the manual to operate. So I plugged into power, and there was a voice prompt a few seconds ago that told us it's ready to connect and scan by QR code. So what we do is wait until we have a voice prompt. So we heard a voice prompt already. I'm going to tap on next and enter the network you want to connect to. And now we're going to show the camera the QR code. It's going to hopefully see it, and then after it scans it, it says that it's successful in scanning the code, and now it's in the process of connecting. Please wait. You can see the LED light has changed from orange to blue, and that means right now it's connecting to our home network using the settings and the password that we entered on the app. And afterwards, you'll be able to see your list of Mijia products. You can add, of course, multiple cameras in the main screen, and of course control the pan and tilt using the motor. So as you saw there before, those were the ring of 12 infrared lights that allows it to see under low light environments. Of course, it switches to black and white as opposed to full color. And you can hear that even though the motor is spinning right now, it's almost completely silent. This is a pretty big difference with the Xiaomi Yi camera that we reviewed last year. It actually had a bit more noise. So the silence here is actually good because if you're away from home and you're still controlling the camera, maybe looking at different rooms, seeing if someone has burglarize your house, you don't want this to produce a huge sound, and then the person will come over and probably disconnect the camera. So that's a nice feature. What's also nice is that this is actually power efficient enough that you can just run it off a power bank for portable use, which means you can actually take it maybe outdoors if your Wi-Fi strength is strong enough, which is interesting. Finally, I should mention that there is a offline storage function where you can record videos and images automatically when motion is detected, and there's a micro SD card slot located on the very bottom of the camera. It's almost hidden, and then when it's going down, it's completely hidden so that the person is unable to access or find where your storage is located. And that's a pretty nice feature as well. There's another function where you can record video content online and stream it using your phone, but that is sometimes a little bit slower, and at the same time passes through Xiaomi's servers, so some people may have a privacy concern if choosing this second method. I should also point out that the Mijia camera, there's actually multiple versions, just like the original generation of Xiaomi security cams that we reviewed a few years back. There's a Chinese version released for mainland China, and a secondary version for international use in the US and Europe and in other countries. And that's really the version that I think people should buy if they are in the United States or in Europe, because it has better support and it's easier just to app and pair through the app. If you purchase the Chinese version, it's set up and configured in a way where it's really only meant to be used within mainland China. And if you have an account that's registered in the United States, it's really hard to pair and add it. Since this was the Chinese version, when I tried adding it, it actually took me over a few hours to go through the setup process. So that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, it works pretty well. It's a 720p camera, so performance, as far as the camera lens is concerned, even though it's quite wide angle and picks up images pretty well, is very similar to that first generation Xiaomi E camera that we reviewed. So there's some footage I'm going to roll in a moment that's from that video, since it also applies to the Mijia camera you see here as far as the sensor and the performance of the video. Dome camera houses its own kind of proprietary setup, just with this scroll wheel on the bottom here that reminds me of earlier iPods. It allows you to easily pan the camera left and right. As you can see, I can tap on these controls and the viewfinder will move correspondingly. And there's also adjustments for height, so I can tilt this up and down. Again, it is a 360-degree kind of pan and tilt. It's not the most smooth action in the world, but it does work fairly well. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's access to a bit of information about the network speed, so whether or not it's super slow, you're going to have some delay in what is being displayed in real time versus what you're seeing on screen. There's also settings for recording video. You can select for standard definition or high definition video. Obviously, high definition is going to use a bit more bandwidth, and there's also other settings, including a name, turning the settings, including the light on and off, activity alerts, so if you get a motion, it's going to automatically push a alert to your phone, pin protection, as well as managing your account information, and I can also take an image this way by capturing a shot immediately, as well as start recording video. So that's some of the things you can do. Otherwise, down here, I can tap on plus to bookmark a specific kind of page I have it set up at, and I can also tap on the expand icon here just to expand the view into full screen, as well as get more complex setups, including the time stamp on the very bottom here, which allows me to kind of record video continuously and check out what's happening across this stream. And of course, I can also use a microphone key there to start talking to the E camera. So for example, hello, this is a test.
Hello, this is a test.
Underneath, we have access to also an interesting control, which allows you to turn on motion tracking and an auto cruise. So you can program this thing so it automatically rotates itself, let's say once every hour, just to detect maybe up, down, left, and right around the entire room to see if there's motion and not just in one direction. So that is a fairly interesting feature. And finally, there's also alerts here that gets pushed down to this little bar on the side there, so you can access for more information. So all in all, the interface is really cleanly designed and it works extremely well. Despite the lack of direct recording in terms of video files onto the phone, you have to still keep it recorded on a micro SD card on the camera. And also there isn't a built-in battery pack, so if someone unplugs the camera, you're kind of out of luck. However, it is extremely simple to set up, extremely simple to use, and we're quite impressed with the improvements that have been made since we last saw this application. So doing a quick look at the video quality next, as you can see, the colors here are quite saturated as well as bright and vivid looking. Under brighter environments, this camera does a very good job of picking up your surroundings as well as detail. Now, it isn't going to be a autofocus camera, of course, just like most action cameras and home security cameras, so it's going to do best under far away shots and landscape shots, so your surroundings are still going to be captured in fine detail. And despite being a 720p resolution camera, there's still a lot of text as well as details that are legible. So if you want to read some fine print, maybe something like a license plate, for instance, if you are tracking something outdoors, someone's parking in front of your house, that is something that you can still read and access on here. Under darker environments, it still does a very good job, but again, it uses infrared lights, which means the color changes from full color into monochrome. So what's nice about this app is, of course, you can access the content no matter where you are. You just need to be connected to Wi-Fi from your phone or 3G or 4G on your phone. Open up the app. Once it's set up, you can see what's happening in your house, even if you're in another country or somewhere else. So that is quite useful. You can see here that the rotation here actually works fairly nicely. There's a slight delay, but it's not too bad, about 2 to 3 seconds, I would say. And all in all, is pretty smooth as well as responsive and easy to control. So I am pretty impressed with the image quality and overall performance of this home security camera. So hopefully that video gave you guys a better impression of what the quality of the camera is like, and you can see that all in all the interface is pretty simple and easy to use. So I think that Xiaomi did a good job with the Mi Jia camera. Compared to the E Dome, it's a lot less expensive, it has a smaller footprint, the motor is more silent, infrared lights work very well. The only cons is the Chinese version seems to be a bit more popular at the moment, and that might be a struggle for folks in the US to set up correctly since the app is a little bit complicated. And scanning with their QR code, you have to be patient and hold still for about 30 seconds. If you're impatient, sometimes it resets, and this can be a little bit tedious. I wish that it was a bit more streamlined. But then again, you are buying a camera with performance similar to $200 Wi-Fi cams at a fraction of the cost, and so some of those rough edges can be forgiven. You can check out more details about the Xiaomi Mi Jia 360 pan and tilt camera in a written article coming out soon, but for now this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.